You're not a man, not like my ex. He knew how to take charge. You're just weak. That was the moment she lost me. Not the moment I suspected she was cheating, not the moment I found the hidden texts, not even the moment I saw her laughing with him at that restaurant when she told me she was working late. No, it was that sentence. It wasn't just a jab at my masculinity, it was a declaration. A confirmation that she had already compared me to him and decided I wasn't enough. For years, I had played the role of the devoted husband. I provided, I supported, I sacrificed. And for what? To be mocked? Compared? Tossed aside like some disposable object? She didn't even realize it, but that was the night she signed her fate. I didn't react, not in the way she expected. No anger, no outburst, no desperate pleading. Just a nod. I remember looking at her, really looking at her, and seeing her for what she truly was. A liar. A manipulator. A woman who thought she could do anything and never face consequences. That was her mistake. For weeks, I played along. I pretended to be the same weak husband she thought I was. I let her think I was just another man she could walk all over. I watched, I listened, I collected. Every text, every lie, every little clue she left behind in her arrogance. She thought she was in control. She had no idea. The first move was simple: distance. I became cold, detached. She noticed, of course, but she chalked it up to my so-called insecurity. She would smirk and say things like, "Don't sulk, baby. Just because I have a past doesn't mean I don't love you." Love. What a joke. She had no idea that I had already set my plan in motion. One night, while she was in the shower, I went through her phone. I knew the passcode. She was careless like that. The messages were all there, a goldmine of proof. Explicit texts, photos, plans to meet up with him. The bastard even had the nerve to joke about me. "Does your husband still think he's in charge? Lol." I stared at the screen, my pulse steady. I felt nothing. No sadness. No heartbreak. Just cold certainty. They deserve to suffer. I backed up everything. Screenshots, voice recordings, even a video of her kissing him in our car, when she thought I was out of town. Then, I started planting seeds. Small things, whispers of doubt in her mind. I pretended to be insecure, to work on our marriage. She played right into it, thinking she had won. But she was wrong. Because while she was busy laughing at me, I was making sure that by the time she realized what was happening, it would be too late to escape. I didn't want to just expose her, I wanted to break her. To take away everything she held dear, everything she thought she could use against me. The first target? Her job? She had gotten it through a mutual friend, a man who respected me. It took only a few well-placed rumors, a few conveniently leaked screenshots, and suddenly, HR was re-evaluating her position. The day she came home crying about her unfair treatment, I had to fight to keep from smiling. Next? Her family. She had spent years painting me as the perfect husband to them. Time to let them see the truth. A carefully crafted email, a few printed conversations, and suddenly, her parents weren't returning her calls. And then, the best part, her ex. The man she had compared me to. The one she had cheated on me with. I made sure he suffered too. I had done my research. He had a girlfriend, a woman who had no idea he was screwing my wife. She deserved to know the truth. One anonymous message later, and his world started crumbling. His girlfriend left him, his friends turned on him, and I made sure his workplace got a little email with evidence of his extracurricular activities. It was poetic justice. And yet, she still had no idea what was coming next. Because I wasn't done. Not even close. She started noticing the changes too late. By the time she realized something was off, the noose was already around her neck. At first, it was small things, little inconveniences she couldn't explain. Her credit card being declined at a restaurant, her favorite dress mysteriously missing from the closet, a sudden shift in her social circle as friends began to distance themselves. She thought she was just having bad luck. She had no idea that her downfall had been meticulously planned, every step executed with precision. The job loss hit her the hardest. She came home that day, her eyes red, her voice trembling with barely concealed rage. "They fired me. Just like that. No warning, no nothing," she yelled, slamming her purse onto the table. I sipped my coffee, pretending to be sympathetic. "That's awful, babe. Did they give you a reason?" Some bullshit about my behavior being unprofessional and not aligning with company values. Can you believe that? I could. Because I was the reason behind it. Of course, I played my part well. I consoled her, held her as she sobbed into my chest, whispering empty reassurances. Inside, I was savoring every moment. But that was just the beginning. I needed her to trust me again, to lean on me completely before I made my final move. So, I became the husband she always claimed I wasn't. Attentive, understanding, doting. I cooked for her, planned dates, even suggested we work on our marriage by going to counseling. And she bought it. She had no idea that every tender moment, every whispered apology, was a calculated move. She had no clue that the counselor I suggested was a friend of mine, someone I had instructed to subtly manipulate the sessions to make her feel guilty. To make her feel like the problem in our marriage. It worked like a charm. I feel like I've been so selfish, she admitted one night, curling into me like a repentant child. I ran my fingers through her hair, staring at the ceiling. It's okay, babe. We all make mistakes. Mistakes. That word would haunt her soon. Because while she was pouring her heart out to me, believing we were rebuilding something real, I was making sure she had nowhere to turn when the walls finally caved in. Her ex, the man she had compared me to, was already drowning in the chaos I had unleashed on his life. His girlfriend had dumped him, his job was in jeopardy, and his reputation was in tatters. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted him to see the destruction. I wanted him to know it was because of me. So, I sent him a message. Anonymous, of course. Just a few words: "You should have stayed away from my wife." He must have lost his mind trying to figure out who I was. The next time I saw him, he looked like a man on the verge of collapse, dark circles under his eyes, hair disheveled, hands shaking as he gripped his phone. He didn't recognize me at first. Why would he? To him, I was just the pathetic husband, the guy he never thought twice about. But when our eyes met, I saw the flicker of realization. And I smiled. That was all it took. He knew. I didn't need to say a word. I walked past him, slow and deliberate, watching as his face paled. He opened his mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Good. Let him wonder. Let him live in fear. She thought things were improving between us. She thought she had me back under her control. She was wrong. Because now, it was time for the grand finale. I had the proof of her infidelity. I had her family turning against her. I had her ex on his knees. Now, I would take the one thing she still thought she had, her freedom. I had discovered something interesting during my research. A little legal technicality that would change everything for her. She had married me for a reason. Not for love, not for commitment, but for a green card. And I had the evidence to prove it was a fraud. She had no idea how deep the knife was about to cut. While she basked in the illusion of our reconciliation, I was busy setting up the final, devastating blow. The irony? She had handed me the weapon herself. From the very beginning, I had my suspicions. The way she rushed our marriage, the way she always seemed more interested in paperwork than romance. I ignored it at first, convinced myself it didn't matter because I loved her. But now, it was everything. She had married me for citizenship, and I had the proof to destroy her entire life. I had been collecting evidence for weeks, texts, emails, even an old conversation she had with a friend where she joked about how easy it would be to use me as a stepping stone. It was all there, waiting. The final piece fell into my lap when I checked our joint bank account and saw a payment to an immigration lawyer. Divorce strategy consultation, the transaction read. She had been planning to leave me the whole time. But now? She wouldn't get the chance. I reached out to a contact at Immigration Services, posed as a concerned citizen, and laid everything out. The fraudulent marriage, the infidelity, her intent to divorce as soon as she secured her permanent residency. The official on the other end of the line was intrigued. If what you're saying is true, she could face deportation and a ban from the country for up to 10 years. Perfect. I needed to be sure she wouldn't see it coming. So, I played the devoted husband to the very end. Babe, let's take a trip together, I suggested one night, casually dropping the idea while we were having dinner. She raised an eyebrow. A trip? Where? Somewhere nice. Maybe back to your home country? You haven't seen your family in a while. She hesitated. The thought of going back, even for a visit, clearly made her uneasy. I don't know. I was hoping to wait until my residency is finalized. That was all I needed to hear. By the time she got her letter from immigration, summoning her for a review of her case, it was too late. She read the notice with shaking hands, her face draining of color. What the fuck is this?" she whispered. I played dumb. "What's wrong, babe?" She turned to me, eyes wide with panic. "They're saying there's a problem with my visa application. That my marriage might be under review. That someone reported me." I sipped my coffee, fighting back the smirk threatening to break through. "That's insane. Who would do that?" She looked at me then, really looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. She knew. But she couldn't prove it. She couldn't scream, couldn't accuse, because doing so would mean admitting the fraud. She was trapped. She spiraled after that. The stress ate at her. She barely slept, barely ate. I would find her pacing in the living room at night, mumbling to herself. Then, one evening, she cracked. "Did you do this?" she asked, her voice raw, desperate. I met her gaze, my expression unreadable. "Do what?" She clenched her fists. "You know damn well what I'm talking about. My case. The review. You reported me." I stood up, slowly, deliberately, towering over her. I leaned in close, lowering my voice to a whisper. "You called me weak." She flinched. "You compared me to your ex. Lied to me. Cheated on me. Used me." I tilted my head, watching her unravel. "Did you really think I would let that slide?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Please." I took a step back, feigning sympathy. "Don't worry, babe. I'm sure your ex will take care of you." Her breath hitched. "He won't. He blocked me on everything. He—" I chuckled. "Oh, I know. I made sure of it." That was the moment she broke. She collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands, sobbing. And I watched. Because justice had never tasted sweeter. I watched her crumble. For years, I had been the one bending, the one compromising, the one who let things slide. But now, she was the one on the floor, sobbing into her hands, shaking with the realization that her entire world was slipping through her fingers. And I wasn't done yet. A few days later, the letter arrived. It came in an official-looking envelope, stamped with the immigration office's seal. I made sure to casually leave it on the kitchen counter, right where she'd see it when she walked in. She picked it up with trembling hands, reading it in silence. Her eyes darted across the page, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Then, she dropped it. "No. No, 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 this isn't happening," she whispered, clutching her head. I leaned against the counter, sipping my coffee. "What's wrong, babe?" She glared at me, her face twisted in panic. "They're calling me in for an interview. They think our marriage is fraudulent." I furrowed my brow, pretending to be shocked. "Fraudulent? But we're married. We love each other, don't we?" Her lip quivered. She knew. She knew that if she walked into that interview, they'd tear her apart. They'd ask her questions she couldn't answer, demand explanations she couldn't give. And when they found the inconsistencies, the late-night disappearances, the separate bank accounts, the text messages, her entire life in this country would be over. "You have to come with me," she pleaded, grabbing my arm. I sighed, pulling away gently. "I don't know, babe. You did call me weak, remember? Not like your ex." She let out a strangled sob. She had never truly feared me before. She had never thought of me as a man capable of taking action, of standing up for himself. But now, she looked at me like I was a monster. Good. Because I wasn't done. Desperate people do desperate things. I knew she'd try to reach out to him, the ex she had compared me to. She would see him as her escape route, the man who could save her. So I made sure the door was sealed shut. Before she could get to him, I sent him one final message. "She's only reaching out because she's being deported. She used me for a visa. You're next." I didn't have to wait long for a response. Fuck that. Blocking her now. The next morning, she tried calling him. I watched from the hallway as she held the phone to her ear, waiting, praying. Then, I heard the automated voice. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." She tried again. And again. Blocked. She dropped the phone onto the couch, staring blankly at the wall. I walked into the room, stretching. Rough morning? She didn't answer. I let her suffer for a few more days, let her stew in her own fear. She barely ate. She barely spoke. The confident, arrogant woman who had once looked down on me was gone, replaced by a broken shell of herself. Then, on the night before her immigration interview, she finally cracked. "Please," she whispered, standing in the doorway of our bedroom. "Please help me." I looked up from my book, pretending to consider it. "Help you? After everything?" Tears streaked down her face. "I'll do anything. Just don't let them send me away." I stood up, walking over to her. I cupped her face in my hand, my thumb brushing over her cheek. "Anything?" I murmured. She nodded frantically. I leaned in, close enough that she could feel my breath against her lips. "Then admit it." She blinked, confused. "Admit what?" I smiled. "That you cheated. That you lied. That you used me." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "Say it." Her shoulders slumped. I cheated on you," she whispered. Louder. She took a shaky breath. "I cheated on you. I lied to you. I used you." I leaned back, satisfied. Then, I stepped aside, motioning toward the front door. "Good. Now pack your things. You're leaving tomorrow." Her eyes widened. "What? No, I thought." I tilted my head. "You thought what? That confessing would fix this? That I'd suddenly forgive you?" She reached for me, but I stepped back. "You're done, babe." She broke down, sobbing at my feet. And I watched, savoring every second of her downfall. Tomorrow, she would walk into that immigration office. Tomorrow, they would see the evidence. Tomorrow, they would drag her out of this country, kicking and screaming. And me? I'd be free. She barely slept that night. I could hear her restless pacing, the occasional muffled sob, the frantic typing on her phone as she desperately tried to find a way out. But there was no way out. Every escape route had been cut off. Every bridge she might have run to was already burned to the ground. Morning came, and she looked like a ghost of herself, sunken eyes, messy hair, shaking hands. She sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the immigration letter, reading the same words over and over again, as if she could will them to disappear. "I can't go," she murmured. I took my time pouring my coffee, stirring in the sugar, sipping it slowly before finally answering. "You don't have a choice." Her eyes darted up to meet mine, filled with something I had never seen before. Not anger. Not arrogance. Pure, unfiltered fear. "Good." I drove her to the immigration office myself. She sat in the passenger seat, gripping the fabric of her dress like it was the only thing keeping her together. She didn't try to argue anymore. She didn't try to manipulate me, didn't try to sweet-talk her way out of it. She knew she had lost. When we arrived, she hesitated before stepping out of the car. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please don't let them take me." I leaned over, brushing a strand of hair from her face, and for a brief moment, she looked hopeful. Like she thought I had one last ounce of love left for her. "You did this to yourself," I said, my voice calm, almost gentle. "Now go." Her lips parted like she wanted to beg one last time, but she knew it wouldn't matter. I watched as she walked inside, her steps slow and uncertain, knowing that within hours, she would be processed, her visa revoked, her future gone. I didn't stay to watch the rest. I didn't need to. I had already won. I went home, showered, made myself dinner. For the first time in years, I felt free. The weight of her betrayal, the humiliation, the anger, it was all gone. Later that night, my phone buzzed. A message from her number. "Unknown, they're sending me back. You ruined my life." I stared at the screen for a long moment before replying. "Me, no. You did that all by yourself." Blocked. She was gone. And I never looked back. For the first time in years, my house was quiet. No more fake apologies. No more passive-aggressive jabs. No more late nights wondering where she was or who she was with. Just peace. I sat on the couch, a drink in my hand, staring at my phone. No new messages. No calls. She was really gone. It almost felt surreal. I had spent so much time planning, calculating, setting everything up to ensure she would lose everything. And now that it was over, A strange sense of calm settled over me. Not emptiness, no, this wasn't regret. This was satisfaction. I had won. Over the next few days, word started getting around. Her friends, the ones who used to take her side, the ones who laughed behind my back, started reaching out. Some pretended to be concerned, others wanted details. "Did you really get her deported?" "Man, I heard what happened. That's insane." "Dude, tell me you didn't actually do all that. That's cold." I ignored most of them. Their opinions meant nothing to me. Where were they when she was tearing me apart? Where were they when she was calling me weak, cheating, using me like I was disposable? Exactly. One by one, I cut them out. Blocked numbers. Deleted contacts. I wasn't just erasing her, I was erasing everything connected to her. I wasn't quite finished yet. I needed to tie up one last loose end, the man she betrayed me for. The one she had compared me to, the one she ran to, thinking he was better than me. I had already ruined his relationship. I had already made sure his workplace knew about his questionable ethics. But there was still more damage to be done. So I reached out to someone who had been waiting for this moment, his ex. The woman he had cheated on. "I think you'd be interested in knowing where he is these days," I texted her. She replied immediately. "Tell me everything." And I did. I fed her every piece of dirt I had on him. Every lie, every betrayal, every detail of how he had laughed at me behind my back. She wasn't the type to just take it and move on. She wanted revenge just as much as I had. And I knew she wouldn't let this go. 2 days later, I heard he lost his job. 3 days after that, I heard his car got keyed. A week later, I saw a post from him online, complaining about how some crazy bitch ruined his life. Poetic. I raised my glass to the screen. Cheers, asshole. People always say revenge doesn't change anything. That it won't make you feel better. That it won't undo what happened. They're wrong. It felt damn good. For the first time in years, I felt like myself again. Not the doormat, not the fool she played, but me. I had taken my power back. And now? Now, I was going to enjoy every second of my new life. Weeks passed, and my life felt like it had finally reset. No more chaos, no more lies. Just peace. Then, late one night, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. But something in my gut told me to check. "You think you've won, but you haven't. I'll be back." I stared at the message for a long moment. Her. I had expected this. People like her never accept defeat. They can't handle losing. They always think they can claw their way back, manipulate their way into another chance. I chuckled. She thought she still had a hand to play. She was wrong. Over the next few days, more messages followed. "Unknown, I know you're reading this. Say something." "Unknown, I can fix this. Just talk to me." "Unknown, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Please." Then, the shift. "Unknown, you ruined my life. You're a monster." "Unknown, I hate you. I hate you so much." Blocked. She wasn't my problem anymore. I thought that was the end of it. I thought she'd disappear into whatever miserable existence awaited her. But then, one evening, I got a call from an old friend. "Dude. You're not gonna believe this." I put him on speaker while I poured myself a drink. "Try me. She's trying to get back into the country." I laughed. And she's claiming you abused her. That she fled because she was afraid for her life." I froze. I hadn't expected that. I wasn't about to let her rewrite history. She wanted to play dirty? Fine. I still had all the evidence. The texts, the photos, the proof of her cheating, of her using me, of her immigration fraud. So I made a call. I didn't just send everything to the authorities, I sent it to everyone. Her family. Her friends. The immigration office. And just to twist the knife a little deeper, I made sure it all landed in the inbox of the very officer handling her case. Less than 24 hours later, I got an update. She wasn't coming back. Ever. I never heard from her again after that. No more messages. No more desperate attempts to reach me. She had finally run out of options. And me? I finished my drink, leaned back in my chair, and let out a long, satisfied sigh. Game over. I should have known she wouldn't go down quietly. A woman like her? She couldn't just accept defeat. No, she had to claw, scratch, and bite, even when she had nothing left. A week after I shut her down for good, I started hearing whispers. Did you hear what she's saying about you? Man, she's telling people you ruined her life. She said you framed her, that you set her up. I almost laughed. She was truly desperate. But part of me was impressed, she was still fighting, even from the other side of the world. What she didn't realize, she was only digging her grave deeper. I let her talk. Let her spread her lies, let her twist the story, let her paint herself as the helpless victim. And then, just when she thought she was gaining ground, I dropped the hammer. I released everything. The screenshots, the videos, the proof of her cheating, the texts about using me for a visa, the plans she made behind my back. Every lie she told, every manipulation, every single thing she had tried to bury, I exposed it all. And I made sure the right people saw it. Her family. Her ex-friends. Even her own mother. The reaction was immediate. I didn't have to lift a finger. The people she had once relied on turned against her instantly. Her parents, humiliated. Her friends, disgusted. Her last supporters? Gone. And just like that, she was completely alone. One last text came through. Unknown, you destroyed me. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing my final reply. Me, you did that all by yourself. Blocked. Forever. This time, it was truly over. No more games. No more battles. No more her. I walked outside, took a deep breath, and let the satisfaction settle in. For the first time in years, I was free. For the first time in years, I had no baggage. No lying wife. No toxic marriage. No drama. Just me. And it felt good. I expected some kind of emptiness, some sort of void left behind after everything I had done. But there was none. Just a quiet, peaceful satisfaction. Like I had been carrying a weight for so long that I had forgotten what it felt like to stand tall. I went back to the gym. Started focusing on myself. I upgraded my wardrobe, took a few solo trips, even picked up an old hobby I had abandoned during our marriage. And the best part? I didn't think about her. Not once. One night, I was at a bar with some friends when I got an unexpected message. Her ex. I almost laughed when I saw his name pop up on my screen. We need to talk. I debated ignoring him, but curiosity got the better of me. About what? I replied. His response came almost instantly. I know what you did. I agreed to meet him, not because I owed him anything, but because I wanted to see just how broken he was. When I arrived, he looked like hell. Disheveled. Sleep-deprived. Paranoid. Like a man whose life had been systematically dismantled. I sat across from him, watching as he ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. You ruined everything, he muttered. I smirked. So did you. He glared at me, but there was no real anger behind it, just exhaustion. She reached out to me, he admitted. Told me she had nowhere else to go. Begged me to take her back. I leaned forward. And did you? He scoffed, shaking his head. Hell no. I told her to lose my number. I chuckled. Even her backup plan had failed. As I stood to leave, I paused, looking him in the eye. Next time you sleep with a married woman, remember how this turned out for you. He clenched his jaw but didn't say a word. Because he knew I was right. I left him sitting there, drowning in his own regrets. Just like she was. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel this good. But damn, it did. I had taken back everything she stole from me. My pride. My dignity. My life. And I wasn't looking back. Life was good. Better than good. It was mine again. I was thriving, new job opportunities, better health, more confidence. Everything I had sacrificed in that miserable marriage was finally coming back to me. I had moved on. And then, she came back. It had been months since I last heard from her. I thought she had faded into nothing, another casualty of her own selfishness. But one night, while I was out with friends, my phone vibrated. Unknown number, I need to talk to you. I stared at the screen, shaking my head. She was still trying. I ignored it. Then another message. Unknown number, please. I have nowhere else to go. I showed my friend, laughing as I took another sip of my drink. She's still begging, I said. He whistled. Damn. You really did a number on her, huh? Yeah. I did. And she deserved it.